Oh, and I completely screwed that up. So I don't know, y'all. This is the new year. I don't know what I'm doing yet. I just got home from work. So, anyways, good evening. This is The Missing Piece with Trish Moe. And I do want to, before I forget like everything else tonight, I skipped my intro. We are broadcasting live on 105.3 FM New Orleans, as well as we are on Roku now. We are on all your major podcast stations, as well as broadcasting on about eight Facebook and YouTube channels now. Um, and Roku's a new thing. I'm sure many of my listeners, as well as the networks, have heard that we are now on Roku. So that's exciting. And I do want to thank Carnation for sponsoring 1 hour of my show, as well as UPRN. So thank you all for that. Tonight, I do want to remember Martin Luther King Jr. Day. That is today. Obviously, he revolutionized citizens' actions and for nonviolence. Um, and today it is actually recognized in many countries around the world for a day of volunteerism and I guess citizen action in countries. So remembering that's always I did have I'll put it on my Facebook group. My daughter made an entire presentation on her own. She was bored over the weekend, so it had nothing. She made an entire she had the birthdays, historical dates. I was very impressed. Pictures, she even made an entire poster. So
I did that
impressed
when
with
I was in
that.
primary school. I did the same in primary school. We had this huge art thing going on, and I made a huge poster. My art teacher helped me with Martin Luther King. It was fabulous.
Really?
Yeah,
That's
it was
awesome.
Let's come back a few years ago.
And that's that's what was really surprising to me when I was doing more research, that how many countries do observe Martin Luther King Jr. Day. So that's something it's actually, it's good to see, especially in this day and
Yeah.
age, because there's so much craziness out there. But today, back to we are, and it is January 16th. Just for those, in case this is replayed in the future and you don't get confused that it's a replay. But I'm very excited. I saw my guest. It's been a month or two, maybe. I don't know. Time has just gotten away from me. I believe it was
Through the Lens.
Through the Lens with Brian and Lex. Yes. I didn't remember if it was just on Parapost Network in general, or that's where I was going to post the link over there, because apparently StreamYard did the thing where we needed to reauthorize.
Yes. Your destinations. Yeah.
So I do want to welcome my guest. She is from Ireland. I can't even pronounce
Which
part
one?
of the name of the town that you're from.
Oh, really? Drogheda.
Oh, yes. Drogheda. Jenny Sullivan Sunyasi. Is that, did I completely? Okay.
You got it perfect. Awesome.
Anyways, she's always had a passion for the paranormal field. Started at a young age, continued into adulthood. She founded the Emerald Isle Paranormal Researchers in 2017, based in Drogheda.
Drogheda.
Y'all, the way it's spelled.
Listen, so many people are saying Drogheda.
I was going to say, I want to say like Drogheda.
Drogheda or Drogheda, or
Um, but Jenny and her team have investigated some amazing haunted locations: Leap Castle, Redwood Castle, Drogheda Museum Millmount, amongst others. She's been in the field for 16 years, and she specializes in audio work. And then she also started a new vodcast in November of 2020 called Shadow Whispers in the Night, bringing guests from across the world and all walks of the paranormal field. So, welcome, Jenny. I was really
Thank you.
excited.
Thank you for asking me.
To
That's awesome. Thank you.
Yes, especially what we were talking about before the show. All synchronicities. Many of my listeners know that I typically invite guests that I'm intuitively drawn to, um, for whatever reason. And it's interesting that you're on at this time of year, because most recently I've been doing a lot of research to write. I've started writing like science journals and stuff, but this most recent, I've been researching fairies, because my ancestry goes back very far in Ireland, and so that, as well as the castles, has been
Really? They are.
something that,
Yeah.
and I actually, well, I had planned on going to Scotland and Ireland last year, but of course, the shutdown just
Yes.
ruined
Yeah.
everyone's plans. But tell us, so you said you've been doing this from a very young age,
Yeah.
and how did and I can tell, you're very aware and intuitive yourself.
Yeah.
But tell us how you got started and kind of interested in the paranormal field.
Oh my gosh. I come from a family of 11. It
Oh,
wouldn't be
wow.
it wouldn't be an Irish family if it wasn't 11. And I was just that different child. I was, the rest of it doing that thing, and I'm kind of like looking at the sky. Why I don't know. I would hear things, I would see things,
In the
and
sky, or
well,
just in general?
in general, in my home, where I grew up, in the sky, I was afraid to look at the sky because of UFOs and whatnot. I'm thinking, well, how do I know this at such a young age? And then just hearing noises in my house and seeing things in my garage up at the back of my backyard. And then I kind of, oh gosh, there's so many things that I experienced, even when I was a teenager. Things I couldn't explain to this day. Things like there was these three things in the sky. I noticed it. It was November. There was these, and I always talk about this, these three things in the sky. They looked like a smoky gray color, and they looked like the shape of the Halley's Comet. And they were just kind of floating in and out. And I got my family to say, I said to my family, what's this in the sky? And they looked out. Now, my mom was picked up from work. Friends and family came over. We all had a look at it, at the three of them. And it was a November night, no clouds in the sky. It was a lovely night. And then we were watching for about 2 hours, and one just shot down, went through the hedges and went back up. And even adults were pulling me, and I was a child, pulling me backwards so they could get into the house before me. They were, I remember one guy pulling me back, and I was that typical tomboy teenager, looking for him. And just things, I ended up being on a team that was based in the north of Ireland, and I took it from there. I took it from there when I was getting into my 20s and whatnot, and I took it on from there. And I've been with them for many years, and then I had created up my own team. So yeah, it was the things that I've heard, seen. It's just, I am a little bit skeptic. You have to be, but I'm very,
absolutely,
feet on the ground, and honest and realistic about what we do and how we do it. I think.
So,
sorry,
So by yourself when you're little, now is the rest of your family, did you say that does the rest of your family have the same I guess abilities, or is it just you?
It's just me. And I'm
That's I
the
mean that's
only
how it is
one.
in my family too. Well, I think my relatives and sister and stuff, they all have the ability, obviously. They just block it out, they
Yes, they just kind of ignore and let it go. I mean, and my
Mhm.
family, I'm a twin as well. And
Oh,
it just,
wow.
I still try to figure this out that I'm the only one in the family. And I don't know if anyone knows about this, about the Rhesus O negative blood. I'm the only one in my family with that. So they say,
Really?
I'm a twin. And I'm thinking, oh, where did I come from? Who am I? Why am I the crazy one in the family? But I'm the only
Well,
one with blood type.
and your twin doesn't have that blood.
No, no.
Interesting.
I
So,
know.
see, I'm a chimera. So, by birth, I was they think a triplet, actually,
Oh,
before I absorbed my twin and triplet siblings, apparently. But that means I have multiple DNAs.
yeah.
And so when I had my kids, they're not twins or anything, but I carried my son on one side and my daughter on the other. So I've never had it tested, but they probably have two different
Wow.
DNAs, even though I'm the same,
Were they
same mom.
fraternal? Are they identical?
They're not twins at all. No, they were born different dates.
Oh, oh,
But I mean, when I was pregnant, I carried one on one side and one on the other, and it's a crazy thing. Um, because I have a heart shaped uterus and it's split completely down the middle. So one side, I'm assuming, of my body is quite literally like one DNA, and the other side's another. So.
that would be so
Um,
interesting to get checked out.
But I'm wondering if something similar could have happened to you, if you and your twin um have different blood types,
Yeah.
then um
Like
but I
we
have
we're not identical. So they say like not identical is well like not in the
oh,
same
that's
set.
true.
So not identical. So you will have different.
Huh.
This could be. I don't know.
I do have a theory on this, and it's
Okay.
funny that you brought that up because what took me so long in setting up, I specifically had to go to this YouTube video that just came up recently in regards to different elementals, fairy folk, things like that in Ireland.
Hmm.
And um, I can show if I can figure out how to
Maybe.
share. I can show that now because it's about, and I've thought this about myself too. It's about changelings. So
Okay.
before I show this video's perspective on changelings, what is your perspective, being from Ireland, being from where kind of that folklore began?
Oh well. What do I think of the fairies and elementals and
Well, so there's all this speculation on whether and so for my listeners, I'm referring to basically fairies in most of the world is kind of a broad term for many different mythical creatures,
hmm,
or beings, entities. So this video basically was referring to anything from brownies, leprechauns, changelings, elves. So anything of that um,
do I think that they're real?
classification.
Do I think that they're real or the story of them? I had a guy, a great, fantastic guy from Sligo on my show. He has written a few folklore books, so interesting, and I would definitely have him on my show again. Um, and when people kind of talk to me about leprechauns or fairies and so on, the fairy side of it, the fairy ring and so on,
Mhm.
I would like to kind of think more of that. I'd like to believe it. And I'm going to say with the leprechauns, it's nice. We probably have had a few leprechauns. I just haven't seen them, and I'm still looking for that pot of gold. I'm not finding it yet, but I'm still looking. And the elementals and so on. It's not a lot of things. I gave it a thought for like 5 seconds, and then it wasn't something that I looked too deeply into. I kind of studied more on the paranormal search, what I can find, and so on.
Right.
And if you find a leprechaun, I will definitely take a video of it if he doesn't run off too quickly, and share it out. But I think it's. I don't know how they came about, but it is definitely something that I'm going to look up. Even though Field from Ireland knows a lot about it, but I will look it up.
Now that we're more advanced in as a society to being open to such things, there's different opinions and theories on whether many of these beings are interdimensional entities, extraterrestrials, which to me makes a lot of sense for a lot of with little green men. Okay, well, that probably fits more with a leprechaun than just some magical being that lives in the forest. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Or a lot of people, as far as the fairies go, that crosses over into different religious beliefs and things like that. A lot of people say that, well, that's spirits of our ancestors, that they're actually spiritual and not something like in the physical realm, in our third dimension, which I can see that side of it as well, because they have wings, and you go through the theories of angels and everything like that. My experience, however, has proven different. I grew up on top of a mountain, and elementals 100%. I grew up but my ancestry, I have some from Africa, some from Ireland, and then I also have native background as well. So I've got I've got all the magical. So
history background.
Yes. And so I used to elementals, absolutely, wind, earth elementals, because they actually helped me a lot when I was younger, and then with the animals and everything else. And then going back, I also had pictures and stuff of what people would consider fairy rings, but those also coincide with things that people in different parts of the world have considered like a UFO ring, or like you know what I mean? Like so that part's kind of confusing to me, but
it is. Yeah, it is. It's something you have to delve into even more. I find it's, oh gosh, it's a lot of research into that. A lot of research.
As far as many psychics from across the world and different readers have told me, I was part of, or I'm related to the fairy realm in past lives and stuff, and that they are strictly spiritual beings. They don't have a physical body, which makes sense to me too.
Yeah.
But are they still, I know I read somewhere that they're still protected in Ireland to this day.
They are. There's a fantastic place up just before in the north of Ireland, and it's called the Fairy Forest, and it's absolutely fabulous. I love going up to it, and you have little doors, and everything is just magical up there. And I go up with my 2 daughters, and I've been a few times, but I definitely have to go back again. It's just a beautiful place to be. And it's great for children, and there's a lot of things to do in it. And you have this huge mountain to walk in, and it's just forestry and whatnot. And there's little things, and there's these beautiful trees carved into fairies, and like the big oak tree man and so on. They still do a lot of that here in Ireland. That's one fabulous place. I know there's another. I think I know of another place in the south of Ireland, But up in the north, it's fabulous. I will definitely go back to it when the weather gets better. But it is a beautiful place to go to. I might even do a live when I go there. I'll do a live and
Oh, that
show.
would be exciting.
Yeah, I will let you know when I go back up again. I'll definitely show you it. Yeah, it's fabulous.
And that's the thing, I think when I think of I kind of have an animistic belief system because I'm pagan, so I believe that anything is capable of having a spirit, whether it be a tree or an insect or a stone, whatever, anything. And so I think when people carve, faces into stone or trees or whatever, that's what possibly what that tree or stone is projecting of
Yes.
their personality,
Yeah. If you get that image and you carve it out,
Mm-hmm.
that's the face. Yeah, I must do that live up there. It's just stunning. Stunning.
So I do know, as far as fairies go, especially in paganism, because we work with many different spirits, as far as even like dragons and things, and people say, "Oh, that's crazy. I don't believe in that." Okay, people, I want to say, when I say spirit, the spirit of the dragon, this goes back through many cultures. It's not like there's an actual dragon in this dimension. I mean, there might be somewhere, but I'm saying when people work with those, like if I was working with that now in my living room or something, no, I don't have a pet dragon, although it would be amazing.
Listen, we all want one, especially from Avatar, that you can just get on them and they'll be your pet forever. And when you link with them, they are yours forever. So I've watched it and I'm thinking, I did have a few thoughts of saying, gosh, I have a few dogs and a few cats. I can make room for a dragon if there was one. Even though my kitten is a dragon. My kitten is a dragon. He's full of nails.
And I think that can happen too with many animals, with many gosh, with anything that can be possibly, and maybe it's memories from his past life, maybe it's, my dog, sometimes I think she thinks she's a cat, and then vice versa. I think my cats think they're dogs half the time, and I don't know whether this is actually just because that's what they're around. They say even with humans, you become who you spend the most time with, or
my chihuahua like Snappy.
if it's because they they have some other, they resonate with it in another way. I don't know. I did find it's interesting that we brought that up too, because I found out recently from these declassified CIA documents from the U.S. There was a time when there were experiments of like crossing personalities of animals, like infusing, like infusing my dog with the personality of a cat, and vice versa.
Yes.
Which is terrifying, actually.
Same. I know, like you have a few animals and I have a few animals, and I've got the cats and dogs, and I work in rescue and whatnot. So God knows what is in half of my animals.
Yeah.
I have a lot. And I have the cats and I have the dogs, and oh my God, and they all have their own personalities. And I always say sometimes that the humans, the owners, turn into their pets, or vice versa. And I always and I have 4 dogs, and I always take a trait from each dog. What am I? So my collie, I'm loyal. With Riley, I'm lazy. With Sasha, I'm a little bonkers. And with Hope, I snore, and I probably need to lose a few pounds. I have a little trait for each of my dogs that I take from each of them. So yes, that's me with all my animals.
Gosh, my Papillon he's autistic, and I am as well. So I guess we share that trait. And then my big dog, my Swiss Mountain Dog, is she has one blue eye, one brown eye. So I assume that's a trait of traditional chimeras as well.
Yeah.
And I have a calico. I learned only females can be calicos, which I never knew that.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, that is true. And so you see, I've only ever seen one male calico, actually two, and it was kind of like
Huh.
one of these wow moments, like it's a male. Let me see it, because I work in rescue and so on. So and you have ginger cats who are males, and then we have a
Yeah.
calico, the male. I'm like, oh, let me see it, because you don't get
Yeah,
them.
it's like a
Yeah,
unicorn. You
I
don't see that.
completely, completely. Yeah, it's just genetics and everything changes at times, and you always get that one difference in one of them. It's like me with my
My
family.
my other rescue was is a Bengal, and which is super cool
Oh,
because
really?
I have a lot of ties to Egypt, and so um and he's beautiful and uh but he has, like me, has no idea of his power or capability or anything because he was declawed and he's a big baby.
Oh my God. I
So
know I keep threatening my kitten because he uses me as a pincushion. I was doing a show on Saturday night, my show, and he just kept jumping up on me, and you'll see my face changing because he's jumping on my side and he's like clawing on me. I'm like, no, because he can't. I I know we don't do it here in Ireland, but I was like, I'm gonna declaw you. I'm
oh,
gonna declaw
I
you.
hate it.
So
I didn't do it. I rescued him that way,
oh,
and it's terrible because
crazy.
he yeah, so for the longest time he wouldn't step he was jumping from furniture to furniture, but like if
Yeah,
there was a long space between, he would still go
yeah.
jump on the weird, and I'm like, "What?" Like the floor is lava type thing, and I'm like, "What in the world?"
Mm.
And
How is he?
his toes are actually split where they
He's,
declawed him. So,
oh my
like,
goodness.
it's just ripped it out of his oh my gosh, it's
Just
terrible. So I got
it's
him a
and he
skateboard.
does he use it?
Yeah, I did. So he wouldn't have to touch the floor because
I think they do find it. I watched a TV show, and somebody had to declaw the cat, and the cat had issues because of it. But it's very painful for them to walk after it.
Mm,
Very painful for them
yeah.
to walk, and
Uh
they chew a wee bit.
yeah, so it's like he's which is funny. Everyone at the shelter was terrified of him. Like they thought he was
Mm,
the most I'm not sure why. He just gives off that impression. And so we share that trait because I do as well. I've
me
got
too.
that RBF face and people are terrified of me and I'm actually really nice. I just
I get the same thing too. It's like I really am nice.
yeah.
Don't let the look fool you. I'm lovely. Many people say it, and I know whoever's watched it. But I am lovely. I am lovely sometimes.
So I am going to try to share my screen. Well, maybe. I wonder if I can do it. Um, because I wanted to show you this. So some of the castles you have been to,
Mhm.
and I can pull up those pictures too shortly. What would you say? Castles have there's so much more history there than in the U.S. So how long does it take to explore a castle, investigate, and what would you say has been, I guess, as far as the paranormal world, um, your most exciting or your favorite?
Oh my gosh. Okay, at the castles first. When we go to castle locations, um, you would stay for the whole night. You would investigate for the whole night. You would sleep in the castle overnight. Excuse me. And I like to go to these locations repetitively. So I've been going to these locations for a few years. The Drogheda Museum, about 6 years, coming up to my seventh. I used to go there on school tours when I was younger, obviously. And little did I know now how much I know about this location. And the castles, like say Lap Castle, you would just go there from about 5, 6 in the evening time, and you leave about 10 the next morning. Um, yeah, we stay the whole night. Yeah, we
Well,
do
see,
sleep in
I
the.
would think because you think of a house like in the US, I mean, even these big mansions, to me, I'm like, there's not enough time in one night or one visit to explore many of them. So I
Yeah.
can't imagine, like a castle, I would think is, that's 10 times the size of a normal house. So
You just have to get there early, make time, and you're staying for the whole night. So you
right,
prep, and because we have gone to this castle for the last, say, 3 years, we know what rooms we want to go to, which is basically every room, but we know what we want because I do all the audio, and then we kind of get all the fantastic pieces, and you go back and you research,
right,
we investigate, and we research. It's like you have to continue on from what you had before. I don't think I could
absolutely.
go to a location one time and not go
No.
back again. I would
Well,
have to go.
it's like people or like anything, you have to visit one, and I'm a photographer too. So in different seasons, because everything changes.
Yeah,
Um,
be stunning.
especially with since with so much history, there's layers of that. It's like an onion. So even if you communicate as a medium, people question this all the time. They're like, "Well, that doesn't make any sense. How can you communicate with someone from 1800 and someone else from
Mm.
1600?" Okay, well, it's different timelines. Just because it's
Yeah,
it's different timelines, it's still the same location. That different things happened.
you will
So
get different
you're
things coming
talking
through. Oh, sorry, you
right.
get different times, say different dates that you go. Something could have happened in the 1800s. Something could have happened in the
Hmm.
1700s. It depends on what date, month you go. It depends of that. But I've always said this, and I've stuck to it, that not all history is written in books. What you
No.
read is not what you're going to get. You will get it from the location, and it is truth. But the rest of the things that we get from these locations, it is mind blowing, phenomenal. I just could sit and talk audio all day, and I could put you through hundreds of audio to hear all the time. It's my go-to. I just can't fault it. I love it. I just would do.
Jenny, when
Mm,
returning to the same locations, do you go to the most active part of the location to focus your investigation?
we have done, Nando. That's my old buddy Nando. We have done. Um, and so when I had met up with my team last night on StreamYard video call to let's go over what we're going to do next Saturday. This Saturday coming on our investigation, we will focus from 2-3 weeks ago investigation from that location, and we're going to say, right, let's have a plan and order this time instead of sitting around saying, right, where are we going next? So we have a plan and order, which is better when you're going on the night and kind of like you have too much things in your mind and you forget a room.
Mhm.
So yes, we have gone to the most active area, and we focus sometimes too much on that one area that we forget the rest of the building by not on purpose, but
Right.
we're putting too much emphasis on that one area. And then we literally, the last time we were there 2 or 3 weeks ago, we said, right, let's switch this up a bit and let's change it around. And God, what we got from it, now we are focusing on the part that we didn't do for a long time. That is our first main point of Saturday.
So what I've found when communicating with spirits in places, so as a medium, I don't want to know anything about the place. I don't research it beforehand. Many times
Mhm.
spirits start contacting me months before I even know I'm going to a place. That's just how they work. Um, but I've found that more often than not, especially with popular places that are well known, paranormal, they'll many research or investigative groups go to. I found that many times they're specifically drawn to a specific location at the house or castle or wherever it is location, and it's kind of as a distraction from what's really going on somewhere else. Like
That is so true.
if you're talking about residual energy, that's one thing. That
Yeah.
obviously that's not as intelligent. That's just energy.
Mm.
But I'm talking about then there's highly intelligent spirits and demons and everything else that
Yeah.
might be tricking you. Like you can't just
That is
you know
100% the same.
maybe they're pulling you away from this part of the house or
Yeah,
location or whatever for to distract you so you don't find what they don't want you to find
completely. Come on,
something.
you've hit the nail on the head. Literally, because you're running around like a headless horseman and you're going from one room, you say, we hear it here. no, it's over there. And we're running around, and I say, right, let's kind of stop for 5 seconds, and we'll split up and do this. But I know many times in one of the locations, I'm always being called into the kitchen. You will hear on audio me being called into the kitchen of the museum.
Is the heart of a building or a home or anything.
Yeah, this is the museum that we go to, and it's a man that's always calling me into the kitchen. And listen, I'm in this field 16 years, but I ain't silly. I've seen it, heard it, and felt it. And I would be the one that would put my hand up and say, yes, I'll probably take a toilet buddy with me, because I kind of don't go to the bathroom on my own in location. Not all the time, but sometimes, some locations. So I kind of said, fine, I will do this kitchen area on my own, but I'm going to be live. So, and you boys have to just sit outside on the stairs. Don't go too far away, because it's either a trap, something's going on, because we know this kitchen area, it's wrong to say it's not malevolent, but there's tricksters in it. And, do you really need my help? Do you really need me? Or you want me down here because we know you kind of don't really like women too much? So I said, boys, I will do it on my own, but you have to be outdoor for safety. I think we do on Saturday.
I think it's something, though. I think that's actually an attachment to you. Because I can hear this and see this. And you were talking about your like your trash and stuff, and you always think something, even at your own house, is in the kitchen, right?
I literally have goosebumps on my thighs.
Oh, did you see that flash behind you? Yes. So I think this is something.
Do the TV.
Oh, but this is something I see. Like I see this thing that follows you. So I think it's something that actually maybe you picked up somewhere, but it also goes with you to different locations, because I think I sense like a jealousy of some sort, because it doesn't want you to talk to other spirits or like get audio. It's very possessive of you.
Do you know what now, Trish? That's just kind of, it's not often I get speechless, but that's kind of literally, because I always want someone, if you're going to, get something from me, I want my hair to stand up on my arms. You are 100%. I kind of need to talk to him after.
I keep getting it very like he's getting angry at me telling you this. Like,
just stop.
No, I'm fine. Like, believe me, I have been.
Wow. I'm just like
afraid of every male spirit that didn't like women. Then I'd be in.
Oh my goodness.
But
yeah, because and it is a man.
I think he affects your animals sometimes too. Which was that like a smoke detector?
Yes, sorry, that's my smoke detector. Everyone tells me, Jenny, change the battery, and I haven't done it, but I will.
I'm the same way, because I'm short, and even with the step stool, I can't reach them ever.
It's too hard to open up. But that's just, I have to say, that is, honest to God, like spot on. And you've kind of like have me stuttering now, because no one has. Few people said it to me, but like, we've just met tonight and you're saying this. And I know a friend of mine, when I go to a location down in the south of Ireland, and one of the guys said to me, Jenny, and you can hear it on audio, they told me where I'm from, but they won't come to me because there's a man with me and they don't like him. They don't like him. And he said to me, Jenny, cleanse your house. But then I got to a point of saying, and I only spoke about this on Saturday night, but I got to a point of saying, but I'm used to them in my house now, which is not like me. I'm thinking, are they telling me? Are they getting in my head to say this? And I'd be lonely if they're not here, but I have the audio of his voice in my house.
I heard Lord of Manor. Now, that's not something that we say in the U.S., so I assume that has to do with, I don't know.
Because I have been to a few places, and I'm the one who asks questions that probably shouldn't be asked. And that person. Yeah.
That's another thing I was going to get into. So I was watching something, which I don't watch TV, period, most often. But, it was Ghost Adventures came on all of a sudden the other day, but I think it was for this purpose, for me to put this out there that, and even the people on there, like I again, I rarely watch TV, but that one is so controversial now because of,
Mm.
the
Yeah,
theatrics and stuff. But
right.
what he was doing was he said, they were in some, I don't even know the location. It was in passing and I don't know the location, but he said, I demand all evil spirits, demons, entities, um, to come through this. Basically, he was creating, uh, like a gateway of a vortex and calling anything evil in. And somebody, I heard it. I was in the other room
Yeah,
and this came on TV, and somebody else said, I wait, what did you just say? I'm not okay with that. He was
mm,
calling in evil entities and including demons and everything else. And here's the thing, if you make a deal, there's many, I know many witches that work with both light and dark entities for various reasons. That's very different than black magic, by the way.
mhm.
um but you have to be careful with especially demonic entities. They can be very tricky when people are making deals with them. I mean, they've
It's
got
just
all the time in the world, but they might be with you for the rest of your life, for that
that's
matter, if
it.
you accidentally, because to them that's you know a human lifetime. See, confirmation, your smoke alarm. A
But that's
human's
not
lifetime.
human anymore. I'm so used to it. My gosh.
A human lifetime is nothing to a demon. They're
Yeah,
around
it's
for centuries. Um, so it's very dangerous, when
mm,
investigators, and then I've known many, many, and they call me up and they're like, Trish, what's happening in my life? I'm like, well, what did you do?
what should you say?
I know you did something. I know you pissed him off somehow. So
Yeah, yeah, you said something because I know one of the questions I ask, it's questions that I can't even say, but they're not. I don't think they're bad questions. I think they're just reality questions. It's nothing disrespectful towards them. I hope it's not disrespectful, but it's a subject that a lot of people don't like. So and that's fine. I kind of do that on my own private conversation and so on. But I ask reality questions, well, should we sugarcoat this or should we ask the question? And then I ask the question and I keep everything crossed and saying, please don't attach, please don't attach. But I don't think it'd be a question that would annoy them, but it's not disrespectful, if that makes sense. But I kind of don't want to say it because not a lot of people like it. But I just find it reality questions, and that's kind of it's
and that's how I am. I get that completely. Uh-oh. I think we lost her. Apparently something didn't like that, so we'll get her back. But what I was getting at, which is especially important, especially like on the show, with Ghost Adventures, here they are opening these portals and such and calling demons in, basically. Um, and I'm sure maybe they're experienced in this in some way, but who's gonna close that? You have to have protection. You have to be able to close these vortexes and these portals that you open if you're going to be doing such things in an investigation, because it could be dangerous in future. Oh, there she is. She's back. Let me. Um,
Did you say that when I was talking about that stuff and I'm cut off?
yes, yes. See, that happens quite often on my show. My listeners are used to it. They're probably getting used to.
I'm thinking, is it my side? Because when you're saying he's angry that I'm talking about stuff or I'm saying stuff.
Well, right. He didn't
Mhm.
want me to even let you know that, although it doesn't matter to him. He thinks he has control anyway. So
Holy
that's probably
crap!
why he's Lord of Manor. So
Is that what he's
um
saying in my house?
um
Holy mother.
What else did I get?
It's a wee bit worrying now.
Is there something golden frog? What is that? I don't know what a golden frog means. I don't Oh gosh.
What?
He has an accent, a very thick accent, so I was misinterpreting.
Oh, what do you know what he's saying?
What? Maybe it's a name. Maybe it's Froghert. I'm gonna have to look this up. I don't know what this. I think that might be a name.
Frogheat.
Well, a Simpson reference, Bart sent like the Simpsons reference came up to that. The guy says this doll is cursed. So do you have a doll that's
I bought
so
a
maybe
doll
that's
from a secondhand shop.
yeah,
I
you gotta
bought
be
a
careful
doll,
about those.
and I used to take her out with me. And I don't know if she's here or not. I think she's somewhere. I think I kind of. Where is she? She was here. Where did she go? Where did she go? I did buy a doll, and I used to take her on locations for me for the children and so on. I think I only have her about a year and a half. Oh my
So
God.
that's one of them. You have quite a lot of and I think some of them come from the animals. Animals can also bring attachments, especially if they've had trauma and such. There's a lot of entities that will attach to an animal that has a traumatic past. So I think you have some from that, and then I think from a doll, and then there's this Lord of the Manor who
And I'm
thinks he's
thinking, are they talking about me, Lord of the Manor in my house?
no.
They're
So
talking about them.
that's what he was saying. He was. He said
Do you
he
know
was the
what?
Lord of the Manor.
Do you know what? Because where I live in Drogheda, it is it is a very historical town. It's one of the most historical towns in Ireland, along with many others. But Oliver Cromwell had come over and attacked Drogheda and killed over 2,300 people. And of course the British Army were over in Ireland and attacking Ireland and so on. And where I live is beside a place called a river called the River Boyne. It's very in history. It's very big in history, the River Boyne. So every time I go into town, I have to cross this bridge. I have to cross 2 or 3 bridges, like they're all in a row. So you have to cross the bridge to get on the other side of town. So my house was built about 15 years ago. My house is built about 15 years ago.
It's under your house. Your house is on. There's things in the land. I get that, but also crossing. So bridges, are major, I guess, congregation points for spirits, because water itself draws spirits into it. So even in clearing your house, if people don't feel comfortable saging, things like that, you can get a glass of water and put salt in it, and I usually use sea salt or something pure like that, and leave it in a room. And if the salt starts floating to the top right away, then you have a lot of negative energy in that specific room. But you're there 24 hours the next day, dispose of the water some way, either out, like, and you have to intentionally do this. You can't just, you could technically flush down the toilet if you wanted to, or drain, or whatever you want, but you have to imagine all the negativity with that,
With
so
it. And is it really bad that I'm used to whoever's in my house? I remember sitting one night, I'd say about 2 or 3 years ago, and I was sitting on my own, and I said, I'll take my recorder out and do a little bit of a session, a call out session, because I know there's somebody in my house. We've heard somebody in my kitchen, glasses were breaking, but there was no cats in the kitchen and so on. So you don't know what it was. So I sat here one night on my own, and I was calling out, and I said, this, you know, can you tell me who you are? I know you're here, and so on and so on. Was getting nothing, and then all of a sudden I hear like a DVP, which is a disembodied voice phenomena, and I heard Ginny, and then you'll hear me on the recorder saying, did you say something? Did you just try and say something? But you'll hear him on the recorder as well. So you'll catch both that I did hear him in my house, and I have him on recorder. So it's a man, and I have gone to locations, and I have audio from all of this. When I've gone to a location for the first time ever, and I'm going back on audio, and then you'll hear Jenny. I'm like, but nobody knows me in this location. It's my first time ever. Who is calling my name? And that's very, then I began to get a little bit angry. Like, I want to now know who this person is. Who are you? Why are you with me on locations? Are you protecting me? Like you said, is he jealous? I don't know. But he says my name on most locations, especially first time locations.
Do you have a book that is green? I don't know what that means. So you can, if you search,
it's like or something. I don't know what it is. Sometimes I don't mind it, and sometimes I just get angry with it. I get angry with it to say, and people always say they don't have to tell you their name, but I was told, to tell them to get out of your house and so on and so on. And I kind of joked on Saturday night when I said, I didn't say you can stay, but I said, put the kettle on for me in the morning for coffees, you're kind of earning your keep in my house. I did. And put the heating on because it's -3 here right now. And things like that before I get up. But it was a wee bit of a joke, But it's
I don't joke anymore about things like that. My household,
I'm not anymore, because I did say on Saturday night, I said nothing's happened in a long time. Nothing has happened.
Yeah, I don't say that either.
Oh well, Lord, now you're telling me. So now it's kind of like,
what did they say? They said you haven't been listening. That you haven't been listening. I don't know.
Gosh.
Oh, so Brian said we have many connections with bridges. Yes. So that's interesting. What are the names of the bridges near your house? Or you don't have to tell me on here. You can tell me.
I can, of course. We have the Bridge of Peace.
Oh, the missing piece. That's interesting.
The Bridge of Peace. Yeah. Oh my goodness. One of the oldest bridges. I can't remember. It was just recently done up, and I can't remember of it. Oh yeah. I think we have St. Mary's Bridge as well. So we have 4 bridges. Now,
I live near a St. Mary's, which is a whole story in itself of that.
Really? Oh gosh. So
Brian and I have many. Him and I have synchronicities with bridges. But Brian, were you saying that you and Jen also have connections with bridges, or were you talking about just the Sewell Bridge?
Oh my gosh, is that the one that? Yeah, I think that's the one that Brian was telling us a few weeks ago about. If I'm right or wrong, I'm not too sure.
Yeah, so he was live on TikTok, I believe, one time, and I was driving home, and a notification came on, and it started playing over my my radio, in my vehicle, and I'm driving over this bridge in Kansas, USA, right?
Yeah.
It was called Sewell Bridge.
Wow.
And he says on, that's the only part, like, I didn't even know he was going live, or this is how spirits and stuff, connect me with things and communicate. My TV will just come on in the middle of the night, or radio or whatever.
Yeah.
And so this came on right when he said the location. I was like, wait a minute. What was that? And so it
Yeah.
ended up being the same name, spelled the same and everything. And I was coming
Wow.
into my town, and all of a sudden the power goes out, like literally in half the city, not just like,
Oh,
one where I was. This was like
right.
half the town. And then the same thing happened. It was like a month or two later. He had done an investigation, and we were talking about bridges, and he brought up the name of this. I was like, wait, what was that? And I had just been to the same name of a different one in a different town, like a
Wow.
few days prior. And so um, everyone I speak with, everyone I communicate with, um, has, a lot of things. Ray Bishop.
Mm,
I spoke with my show's kind of a variety talk show. So I was speaking to him about, he was the author of Outlaw, because he was one of the UK's most wanted men at one time. And so this had nothing to do with aliens, right? And all of a sudden he says, wait a minute, you're from Roswell, New Mexico. And he was like, grew up, everything near the equivalent of Roswell in the UK. I was like,
what? Isn't
UK,
it
I also went to
crazy?
KU. It's,
Isn't it crazy
same
the way
thing.
something just
Yes.
for whatever reason,
My
it's you kind of coincidence or it just connects. And
it
before I used to think it was coincidence, and now I think, okay, what was behind that? Something was behind
yes.
it.
I don't believe in coincidence.
Mm,
Once, maybe,
yeah,
twice something happens, that's a
yeah,
clue.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
Even my old co-hosts on Chasing Prophecy, they're all based in Pennsylvania. Well,
Mm.
they would do investigations at a place called Lake Shawnee,
I
which is
heard of that.
notorious there and extremely
Yeah,
haunted.
yeah.
There's a Lake Shawnee in my town I go to all the time. I'm like,
It's like we were talking tonight,
"Oh,
and I was telling you all about the names of my animals and whatnot, and you said, I have this, I have that. And I was like, well,
yeah,
how do we have the same things? And I, like you said, like you, I don't believe in coincidence anymore. I believe I always, when something happens, I'm like, "Oh, well, wow, that's strange." And then if it happens again, then I think, um, let's find out why this is happening. But it's just,
yeah."
wow.
Usually there's a much larger, bigger picture to things. So the castles, something that's also come up recently, and I don't know if you in some of your investigations have come across this, um, especially with pagans, especially with now I know many of the like in France and this is like that vessels um, go to the Knights Templar, um,
Yeah.
in various investigations and start getting into um, that unrecorded history, that nobody knows about, and they end up finding all these things. Have you come across anything like that? Um,
Anything that was not recorded in history,
well, yeah, or
like,
just something like secret
yeah,
society type stuff,
yes, yes, I have. Yes, I have.
Really?
Yes, I have. Yeah, I
Huh.
just for reasons I cannot say just yet where,
Oh, that's
but it is a castle. It is a
understandable.
castle, and it's uh mind blown phenomenal, which is why I say, and I'm like, I patting myself on the back to say, well, this is why we keep doing, locations time and time again. And I remember somebody said to me,
Yes.
Jenny, if you keep going back to the same locations, people are going to get bored. And I said, well, if I do
Um,
a live in a location, well, if I do a live, people are watching, and I was told they will get bored. And I said, well, they can either watch or don't watch because this is research, and you can come along on my ride, or you don't have to jump in if you don't want to. But I am researching these locations, and it pays off. It pays off
Absolutely.
crazily. It
I
pays off. And I jump
I
about it,
tell
and I
people
speak about
this, especially about the living, but definitely about the dead.
it.
There
Mhm.
is nothing in this world that is the same twice. you're never going to be who you are right this minute. That part of you will be
Yeah.
gone tomorrow. You know what I mean? So it is
Unfortunately,
no different with
unfortunately,
locations.
but that's
Yeah,
it.
because,
Uh,
you know,
there's just
and it could be a matter of a millisecond that something happens to breach that environment that day at that specific time.
yeah,
But what a lot of people don't realize either, especially with O blood, is that many of
yeah,
these historical locations, a lot of the O bloodlines, um, go back thousands of
more than you
years.
think. Yeah.
So, um, many of these locations, sometimes it takes a specific uh, DNA signature, energetic signature, I guess I
Mm-hmm.
could say,
Mm-hmm.
at a specific location to
Mm-hmm.
trigger
Yeah. Yeah.
certain portals and events and things like that, because there quite literally are your ancestors
Yes.
waiting for you to return to
I,
specific places, and they won't talk to anyone else, as
I've
well as
always
other
said
people's.
this. I've always said this, and people didn't believe me that I was special. Yes, everyone, don't jump in just yet. Like I joke when I say it. I'm joking with myself that I was special, but it's I I I find this is what I do when I go to locations. I remember my brother got married in Cabra Castle. Beautiful place, stunning. I stayed in the hotel overnight. We were walking down for dinner, and we're walking down the staircase, and it's the wall is like you're going around, around. And I remembered put my hand onto the wall. It's kind of like it's it's not a flat wall. It's like stone. So I'm feeling the wall, and I was thinking, oh my gosh, I have to go down for dinner, and I don't want to. As if I pretended I lived in the castle. And someone said to me,
Yeah.
Jenny, that's you kind of thinking you lived there. And I'm like, I was
Oh
joking.
yeah.
I was pretending. I was, messing with myself, that I lived in the castle.
No, we
I just
return to where
touched.
we've already been.
I always knew I lived in a castle, and now I'm a pauper living in a smaller house. What happened? What happened to me? So, and when I go to locations, I touch stone, and
So
it's not because I'm trying to feel something or get something from it. I just want to feel it and get a projection in my head or my mind of this location.
but that's not what you're doing, because, and that's why I keep hearing you're not using that. Maybe that's what they meant by you're not listening.
I've
You're
been
not
told that
using all of your
before.
gifts,
Yeah, I've been told
because
that.
when I go to a location, I intentionally touch
Do you really?
um the wall, the ground, a tree, whatever, because for me as a medium, or well, I don't know if all mediums do this or psychics or whatever, but this is how I start getting the history of the place.
It's
I'll have
fascinating.
flashbacks of everything that's ever happened there that had enough energy, as far as good and bad, specific events and things like that.
Mm.
But I can do that with clothing. I could do that
And
with
you? Wow.
any object really.
Okay.
But I think when you touch these things, pay attention to what the first things, and that's actually probably how I initially started honing in on this gift myself, is that they started calling me back to places that I had lived in a past life.
Oh
And
gosh.
so it was easier for me to picture things like that, like going
Mm.
down to eat dinner, and because I had already been there, I'd already lived there. The problem nowadays is that many, which people get confused, and I did for a while, especially in Kansas. I don't know if they do this in other countries, but in certain states in the US, they've actually flip-flopped towns. Like they'll change First Street to 30th Street and vice versa. And I think that was done intentionally. And I don't think anyone's ever studied this, because when I go back to these locations, I get turned around and I'll be going east when my GPS tells me to go west and vice
Oh
versa.
wow.
I'm going to the right place, but it's opposite directions, so
Mhm.
um and a lot of these houses, even, when I went to the Sally house last year, that had actually happened. First Street was now like, you know, Third Street. The back door of the house was now the front door, which completely changes the energy. So
Completely.
if
Why
I
would
had
we
been
change?
there before, um, and with people remodeling and such, that
Okay.
makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yes. Yeah. And
Well, I
that,
don't know why they changed the town like that, but
I think there's only a handful of people I've ever said it to when I go to locations. I touch the wall. And I think the last time I said that would have been probably a few years ago because I've never talked about it since. But I'm glad that
it's
you
because
do
you
the
have a
same
connection
thing.
there.
But I thought I was, oh, Jenny, don't be so silly. Or, oh, Jenny, what you think you're feeling something and you're going to get something. And I'm like, no, I'm just
No,
feeling
it's the
someone's walking
building
through dinner.
remembers you.
That sounds so amazing. Like everyone I
Because
listen to
people
also.
forget that buildings have spirits as well, and we joke about this, but quite literally,
Mm.
look how many movies have been made about that. Even children's movies. There's it's one of my favorite movies, Monster House. And so I describe it to people, especially kids who are psychic and have these abilities, because it helps them understand.
Oh, is this the kind of like animated?
Yes, yeah,
Yeah,
where
I've
the
seen it.
house is like
Yeah.
very I bet that's why. I bet that's part like what your house does itself. Maybe that's the lord of the manor. Maybe your actual house
The
is
what?
doing that.
Did they
Because in
call?
that movie, it was actually the guy's like wife that had died or whatever in the house,
Line
and
right.
she was controlling him.
Yes, it's like, and I did say, and I was talking to a good friend of mine, and I said I kind of don't want to, and I don't like the word get rid. I don't like that word at all. I kind of feel like I wasn't me talking when I said, but I don't want them to go because I'll be lonely if they're not here. And I'm like shaking my head saying, Jenny, what the F are you saying? Don't say that because I think that I'm being consumed and I
But
should tell them that.
you don't have to uh you can all coexist.
I don't mind them
That's
being
what
in the house.
I've learned, especially being a chimera, I have an immune deficiency disease, and that's how I tell people. I'm like, I literally had to learn how to coexist with the different bloodlines that, because going back to my ancestry, we've actually like different sides of my family literally fought each other in many wars. Like we're killing each other in wars. So if those different bloodlines exist in my own body, they have to learn to get along on this, planet of Trisha
Yes.
here.
Hmm.
So they don't kill each other.
Do you
Um,
think, sorry, Trish, do you think that dog that I have, I should get rid of her? I bought her in a secondhand store. She looks like a Victorian doll.
no.
And I think she said I didn't like the word get rid, and I just said get rid. It depends on what I'm talking about.
Um, I think wow, she's really sad.
I don't know where
I just
she
got really
is.
emotional about the doll. Maybe that's why she's sad, because you just forgot about her. Because dolls, I know many, especially witches. I know many witches who have many dolls that they've technically adopted from secondhand stores and such that have a
Yeah.
spirit attached to them. And they do sometimes they, trick them and hide things and do all kinds of, but for the most part, most of them are very, what you have to do with any spirits in your own home. um I have spirits that are tricky all the time in I mean all around me all the time, and
That's
and
just funny that you said that. Yeah.
I'm the same way, because I'm like, when you have a problem animal or a problem child, you don't just get rid of them. That's not going to help solve anything. It's like if you have a problem house, if you have a house that's literally haunted, you
Hmm.
don't, and I've said this to other people who own these houses. I'm like, you don't just tear down the house. It's not going to solve anything. Then that land will be even more haunted.
You call
you
it.
want to improve it. You have to transmute the energy.
I did.
So,
I did say it
plant flowers and stuff.
Well, that's it. And I did say at one point, and me being the alpha female in my house, and I did say, if you upset my daughters, I will be punching the air. But by God, will I kind of go hell for leather on your arse? We're not doing it. If you want to stay, then we'll just coexist. But there's rooms you're not allowed into.
Yes, you have to have boundaries. That's what I was going to say.
I'm very much alpha female. I'm very like, we can do this. Now, when the computer went off tonight, when I was talking about certain stuff, and I went into the kitchen to see if my internet lights were on, and they were all green. And I'm like, okay, Jenny, I've been told to and this is something I used to kind of like, it's just the internet or something came off. And now I'm thinking, okay, I get you. Okay, because I remember doing a show one night, and I was with a panel of people, and it was in America, and everyone's talking and laughing and joking, and then we went quiet for like 2 seconds, and then I'm smiling, and then all of a sudden you'll see my face going like, and I went to say something, but no one, everyone was talking. I heard my name being said. It was like in my microphone, but it was a long Jenny. And so when I went back in the live and listened to it, you can hear static coming through the microphone, and the man was saying my name, and it sounded like my microphone. And
I saw that earlier. I was going to say, so that's what they were trying to, something about your microphone. Yes. That must have been the story.
Really? Just like, you want to come to and join us here? I'm joking.
So it sounded like your name through your microphone?
It was, I'll send you on the video piece because I have it. I'll send it on to you, and you can hear the static coming through, and we didn't hear it at the time. And then you'll hear my name. I heard my name be said. No one else heard it. I know then when my dogs.
Are you able to play anything on your side? I don't know how StreamYard works as far as that goes.
Okay, I will find it because I do have the video here. If I send it on to you, can you put it on the StreamYard? Because I don't have the controls of it. Can you put it on StreamYard?
Maybe.
I'll send it on to you if you can send it. Listen, I use StreamYard every week, and I'm so bad at it. But you see it, and we were talking about. I'll tell you the conversation we were talking about, because it has to be said if you're going to play it. We were talking about dog dirt and how dogs kind of like eat it. And this is on a show that it was a paranormal show, but it was like a show that it talks sometimes paranormal. But that was the conversation before. If I put it up and you want to put it on, but that was the conversation. But you'll see me. Let me go and find it. I'm going through my video footage here.
Dog dirt. I thought something about earlier too. That's interesting. So
I'm just here looking for the video.
What else were they trying to tell me?
I have it here. I have the video. I'm going to send this on to you. And this always makes me like, oh, Jennifer. It always makes me think, oh my gosh. But I just sent it to you then on PM on Messenger.
There was also a dog that's trying to reach out to you that was sold. Maybe one of your fosters. Maybe.
What?
That's so odd. I communicate with animals too, but this is like a living animal.
Okay. Now I want to know who I got to be.
For that to be
because that's not
this far is. Oh, what I was also going to say, sometimes spirits work a lot with animals as well. So if your animals are trying to tell you something, sometimes they will get the help of spirits in your house.
Okay, that's
to try to get your attention. So I don't know if that's relevant, but
yeah, I have to say, my collie Cross, he is like my soul dog. And people say, oh, who's your soulmate? Zach is my soul dog. He reads me. His eyes look through me. And I know people think, oh, you're crazy. It's not. I love Zach. I feel Zach. He's one of my, I fostered him 11 years ago and I adopted him a week later. But he literally, he would read me, and I think people think that's crazy. But he if I'm talking about something upset and whatever, he's literally on my side.
Does he lean up against you
all the time? Yeah,
that's what I got. That he leans. He leans up against you when you're sad, is what he says.
Yes,
but because he wants to make you smile or shine bright. I got that.
Yes. Oh my God, you're gonna get me teary now if you keep talking about that. Yes, he does.
Yeah, so when communicating, and they would like you to try to, and also he said he loves you with all his heart.
Oh my
I've heard all my thing, but they would like you to try to. I think you're 100% capable. They would like you to try to communicate with them more, and so maybe that's why we're talking. Because when I first started communicating with my dogs, so a lot of things, and this goes along with spirits as well, and people don't always think about this. Many spirits are from different timelines. Dogs might also be, especially foster dogs, could be from different cultures, different languages. You don't know,
Yes.
So they don't always speak English or whatever, French, Spanish, whatever language people are coming from.
Yeah.
And so with animals, well, with anything, I communicate that with them with pictures, which I think is easy for me because of the autism. But in my head, and a lot of people I understand can't picture things in their head. But even if you were to start communicating with your dog and get like flashcards, like very simple children's flashcards for that opens that up. And that's how I communicate with animals is pictures, because that's pretty universal, for simpler things.
And he's babied so much, and he was like, he's a big dog, and he was, he sleeps in my room on the floor with Big Riley. And it was cold the other night, and he was on my floor, and I, tapped my bed for him to jump up on. So I've got pictures. I took selfies of me and my big collie and my big Newfoundland Akita lying on my bed. And like the big and the weather's bad. So when they go out to the bathroom and come back in, the kind of dirty dogs and whatnot. And I'm like, you know what? I'm the only one on my bed. Get on my bed. And, let's all cuddle together. And I took selfies, like, too many selfies of me and my dogs on my bed.
Oh my gosh.
So I did.
I was just looking at my pictures before we came on, and I was organizing my cat folder, and I now have, and this is after I thought I just like moved these folders a few months ago, and I already have 1,400 again. I'm like, gosh, I'm just pitiful.
I have about 16,000 on my phone, and I don't know how my phone hasn't stopped. Yeah, listen, 100%, Raymond. Yeah.
Any animal can
which
I have learned so much from animals. So many emotional times with animals too.
Completely. Like I have my animals are I have my dog portrait tattooed on my arm, my Chihuahua. Her face is tattooed on my arm. And I have my dog's name tattooed on my foot. And my daughter's a little bit jealous because, Mom, did you get us tattooed on you? No, I didn't. I have my dogs tattooed on me, but not my children. Does that sound really bad? Probably does. But
well, I think, and especially for pagans, we're very connected to our animals and the reasons they came to us and stuff. And my listeners know I have so many weird stories with, like, my daughter's kitten she found. First of all, this cat left its mom. It was just a wild, cat out in the country at my parents' house. Left its mom to go find a human because my parents' cat was laying in a culvert, like a road, a drain on the road, that nobody probably had been there for days, and nobody would have found him. He had an injured leg. So this kitten comes and gets my son, goes to find a human. to
Wow.
come rescue the other cat, right? So
Mm.
then um I was like, my daughter begged me to bring her home. I was like, we just rescued our other cat. We really need to give him time to adjust and everything. And I said, but I will. It's right before Christmas. This was last year, but I said,
Mm.
I will bring her home, um, take her to the shelter near where I live, where I rescued my other cat.
Yeah.
And somebody will adopt her right away. She's a kitten. It's right.
Yeah.
I'm sure she'll find a good home. And so by the time I got home, it's like a 40-minute drive. She's crawling around on the bottom of my vehicle. I get out. I'm not even kidding you. I would have taken a picture. I don't know where this came from. And I take her out of my truck, and there's a sticker on her belly that says, "Please don't re-gift me."
Oh, what?
And
Don't
I'm
say
like,
that. Are you kidding me? And
no,
then
I
do you
swear to
still,
God.
do you
And
still
I'm
have
like, well, guess I got to keep her.
you still have her?
Still have her. She's been one of the greatest gifts to
Isn't
the
that
entire
just
family.
amazing? And I know people say, somebody said to me before, would I take one of my dogs, like especially Zach, my collie, because me and him are kind of like one of the same. Would I take him on 2 locations with me? And my answer for many years was always no. Do I agree with anyone taking animals with them on location? And my answer, because I worked with animals, is always no. This is your field. This is what you want to do. I've seen videos of people taking the animals on location, and I'm like, let's watch how they behave.
Mhm.
And I know my collie now, he would be stuck to he's the only dog I can walk without off leash, because he would always look for me. Would I take him on location with me? There was a time when I'd say no. And now there's a time that I would probably take him to one of my locations, which is local, because I know he will go about 10, 15 feet away from me, look back to see where I am. But if he doesn't leave my side, well, then we know in this particular area of this building, something's going on. But I don't think I would put him through that. I don't think I would.
Well, but you also have to realize, especially the places that are kind of safer for you to visit,
Yes.
yourself, if it's places that you've lived in a past life and you're connected in that way, that there's a
Mm,
good chance if your dog's part of your soul tribe, which means that he's also reincarnated with you in multiple lifetimes. And
mhm,
so there's a good chance that he was also there with you during that time, if you're feeling compelled to take him to a certain site, and it
mm,
doesn't even have to be as a human. He could have, or I mean as a dog. Well, see, I said that's relevant. He could have been a human during your past life and been there. So people forget about that, because a lot of people don't believe in reincarnation in that way, or that
mm.
people can be
Yeah.
different. And the reason I started thinking about this was because of my dog Ella that I adopted. When I rescued her, it was very random, not expected, and I ended up moving to a different town with her right after
Mm.
I got her. And they had this dog park I took her to. And I was like, that's weird. They had a dog on this sign that looked exactly like her. And it said Rocky. And that's the name of my uncle that had died years ago, And I was like, huh, maybe that's coincidence, This was back when I apparently believed in coincidences. And then I went to work one day, and we had lockers at my workplace. And the person next to me, who I'd never seen because I worked the night shift, so I'd never seen the person next to me, but they had a picture on the front of their locker of a dog that looked exactly like mine. And I turn around, and the name on the wall was also Rocky. And I'm like,
You're meant to
okay,
keep. You're meant to keep
that's
him.
probably my uncle from a past,
I get that.
reincarnated. And she has been my protector, with
Yeah,
me for a lot of
see,
stuff.
just when you were saying about coincidence, and this is what I said a few years ago when my Yorkshire Terrier, and I genuinely think she has ADHD or she has something, because she's fabulous. She's such a great dog, and normally she shows her face up, but she's probably upstairs in my room. And my kitten has slept so long, which is a good thing, because normally she's on my shoulder. But one of my friends in rescue said, Jenny, I have an 8-week-old Yorkshire Terrier for adoption. And I'm like, no, don't. I can't. I won't. I can't. And I have my first Yorkshire Terrier tattooed on my foot. And she was sending me pictures and videos of this tiny Yorkshire Terrier. And I said, I can't, I've got to think with my head, not my heart, yada, yada, yada. And then I said, you know what? Okay, fine. Call her Sasha. Sasha's my first Yorkshire Terrier. Call her Sasha. Then I'm going to, give my second Yorkie my first Yorkie's name because I loved her so much. And then I said, no, actually don't, because it's taken away from my first Yorkie. For that week later, someone was talking to their daughter and said, oh, my daughter's name, my daughter Sasha. And I looked at her and I said, what did you say? What's your daughter's name? And she said, Sasha. And I'm like, okay, yeah, okay, I heard that before. And then I read in the newspaper, and there's a man in the newspaper saying him and his little Yorkie Sasha. And I'm like, okay, here's another Sasha. And then something else came out, a Sasha. And I said, fine, call her Sasha. Call her, and her name is Sasha. But it's kind of these things you do.
A lot of people discount these things as, nowadays they'll say, oh, that's just the law of attraction, the law of the universe, where you start thinking about something and you start seeing it all the time. But that's not always the case. Sometimes, and I have argued this with people so much, and I'm like, no, I mean, it could be, but typically in situations like that specifically, things do have a meaning. There is more. And when you start paying attention to these synchronicities and these meanings in life, it makes everything magical, and there's.
But my dog, Zach, just when we're talking about Zach, when I was going to foster a small little black terrier from this rescue, and they said, I was going to get this dog a certain day, certain time. And then the rescue contacted me and said, Jenny, the dog is not great with children. And I said, okay. And they said, will you foster rescue number, whatever it was? And I looked at the rescue number, and I remember passing his pictures 6 or 7 times. And I said, nope, I don't have the room for a collie. Nope, I've had a collie before. Love collies. I'd have 10 of them, but I just have to think of the space. And I just kept going by his picture, and I'm like, I can't. He's lovely, but I can't. And then the reference number that she wanted me to foster was Zach, and they called him Tack in the pound. And I said, okay, you know what? I'll take him in. And now the first week, he was glued to my 1-year-old daughter, which I think she was 2 at the time. He was glued. He was just so friendly. He's kind of like an old man in a dog's body. And his eyes
he probably quite literally is.
His eyes are human, and they penetrate us. And I know it sounds bizarre when people say, oh, they penetrate your soul and whatnot. But if you know my dog, you know what he's like. Everybody loves Zach. And sometimes if he's here, he's in bed now, he would sit up and put his head underneath. I said, Zach, mama hug. And he put his head underneath your shoulder and on your chin and just kind of like hold on tight. He's just like, and I always said, by gosh, if Zach ever goes, and when he goes, I'll be a broken person. Definitely.
That's how I have my little Jasper, who's, he's got ADHD and autism and everything else. And like, he just shuts down if he gets his paws wet. He's got all these little quirks and stuff, which is funny. The first time I started realizing these things, like we were trick-or-treating, with my kids a few years ago, and he was dressed as a lobster, and he touched a tiny little puddle and just sat down. Like, he refused to move.
Yeah.
I'm like, you're a lobster.
You're supposed to like water. Find my lobster.
But he's very, very human-like.
But
he's very needy.
Yeah.
But it's like all the animals and kids and everything in our family know that he's special in that way. So he doesn't get bullied by anyone. They all like tolerate multiple things that he does because he is special, and he's got these like bulgy little eyes that just look at you.
What breed did you say he was?
He's the Papillon. So it's kind of like almost tiny. Like a long-haired Chihuahua. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. They're beautiful.
Let's see. Brian said, "My dog is definitely seeing spirit." Oh, he has a newer dog.
Yes.
My place, and they have touched him a few times because he jumps for no reason. I know they're communicating with him.
Isn't that amazing?
Brian's spirits aren't always very nice, so I can see that bothering the puppy. The dog's probably getting used to them, but I'm sure they do. Since they're not as able to affect Brian as much anymore, obviously targeting the
But going
dog.
for his
So
dog. Yeah. And his dog is such a quiet, good dog. I'm just going to say, I watched a video that Brian had sent of it, taking his dog out to a farm. It was just funny. But Maximus is such a good, quiet, docile rescue dog. And he's so pleasant and he's beautiful. And to see this, it's kind of like, oh my gosh. Like I remember
yeah.
when my daughter had seen something in my room. We would kind of change my room around as I do. And my daughter said she's seen this black ball going from one side of my room to another side. And I said, was it a fly? How big was it? Because I'm playing it down. And she said, no, it was about this size. Mom, it was about this size. And it was just going past. And I'm like, that's okay. That's fine. My daughter's walking downstairs. My younger daughter was walking downstairs on her t-shirt. She said she fell on the step. So I said, let me see what you were wearing. It was a long t-shirt. And I said, let me see if any snags on the wooden stairs and so on. And there was nothing there. So I did say mentally, I am that mother. I am that mother. I will not see you, but by God will I air punch. You know, I am that bear of a mum. And I remember
they know when it comes to my kids, I'm not playing. there's
yeah, listen,
there's
we're not doing
a
this.
my kids are very very intuitive as well. And there's a whole controversy of kids as well. My daughter
That's about what I was
has
going to say.
accompanied me to
Yeah.
haunted forests and cemeteries and all kinds of things. And people might say, like, how could you do that? How could you? Okay, well, I want to tell people from my perspective,
Mm-hmm.
growing up and having everyone around me, everyone I know, everyone who I looked to for safety,
Mm.
tell me that I was, that those things don't exist and that basically I was crazy because of their own fear, basically, was
100%. Yeah.
very damaging to me and very traumatic. I
Mm.
actually blocked all of that out, and until I was in my mid 30s maybe. And had I known at her
Yeah.
age how to actually, it's like being in customer service and you have an angry person on the phone. Most of them just want to be heard and be listened to. And they're not actually going to harm you unless you just ignore them.
Yeah.
So especially if you're intuitive, and if it's a child medium, and if people will go and watch these shows, like if you watch Psychic Children, which my daughter did. And yes, people can criticize me, whatever, but
I haven't
she was
seen it.
actually able to relate to that. It helped her so much because she's like, wow, there are other kids out there like me. They all have the same problems. Their parents don't believe them. I mean, she's never had that problem
Wow.
with me, but with her
Yeah.
grandparents, other family, and I don't blame them either. I mean, it's because we're not educated on these things, and we're not, it's like you're the only one in your family that
I was the
has kind of a
only one.
connection to the
Yeah. And they
paranormal.
always see me as weird Jenny, the black sheep of the family, Jenny, weird Jenny.
But
And
people don't talk about things they're afraid of. So
mm, I heard a lot of stuff. Yeah. And it was just diminished. And, you know, it was hard, and now they all come to me and say, Jenny, this thing has gone on in my house. And I'm like,
yeah.
hey, I
And
told you
that's what I'm
so.
saying. I know, and I have said I told you so many times in the last like
I
5
like
years.
saying
I'm
I told
like,
you so. I know. Just when you were mentioning about your daughter, and I was literally 2 seconds away from telling you the same thing about my daughter when I took her over to the museum, and
yeah,
myself and my friend Alan were doing decorations up for the Halloween or Christmas, whatever it was. And my daughter now, she's 19, she's special needs, and she's intellectual disability. So she was in one of the rooms on her phone and whatnot. And I said to Alan, I said, God bless her, the innocence of the heart, because if only she knew what we get from this room. Let me tell you, she came out of the room
oh
and she
yeah,
looked at me and she went, and I'm like, did you? And she goes, Mommy, I heard a woman. And I said, I did too. And I hugged her because I said, welcome, welcome, because you heard
yeah.
what I heard. And I was so proud that she heard it. And I can't even say how
Well,
much.
and that's another thing with especially with special needs, or even the neuro diverse group of society, because
Yeah.
I think often that is dismissed as part of us being crazy. No, these
Hmm.
things are real. Like I had to go to such great lengths to prove these things when I was little, because I would be blamed for moving something or
Yes.
doing that I
Yeah.
didn't do. And I was
Yeah.
terrified to cross, like my room was on the opposite side of the house of my parents. And I mean, it probably wasn't that far. There's like, a hallway, living room, kitchen, whatever in between us. But to me, when I had to run from there through
Mm.
all these spirits that were trying to communicate with me in the middle of the night, 100 miles, might as well have been.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
to get there and to get in trouble for getting there, to get told to go back to bed, that monsters don't exist, it's very
It's hard. Yeah.
it was hard. And so uh, when my daughter feels called to a location, and you do have to, so I think when you have children like that, you have to teach them ways to protect themselves. For one, that's very important.
Yeah.
Boundaries with spirits, like we discussed.
Yes. Yeah.
um but also to listen to them, you know listen to what they're saying, because it's probably not something they're just making. Also, their artwork, especially when
Mhm.
they're younger, look at what they're drawing. Look at um it might not be something that, and I think back about this, I'm like, wow, look at all the people that used to be in institutions
Can you believe that?
um
Yeah.
and
Ridiculous.
um such gifted souls that were just tortured and made out to be crazy because they were gifted. It's
Because it was taboo. It was so taboo back then. And now,
yes,
when I started out in the paranormal field, I would never tell anyone I did the paranormal because they think I was crazy. And now, if you put your arms out left and right, you're going to touch a paranormal investigator or a paranormal enthusiast
yes.
or a paranormal fan, because now it's kind of like media is doing the job. But back in the day,
Oh
we
yeah.
could not say anything. And I remember one night when something was happening in my house. It wasn't bad, I don't think it was, but my two big boys who sleep in my room, and I always leave our doors open. They slept in the door frame of my daughter's room, and Big Riley, he's a Newfoundland Akita mix, always slept in the girls' bedroom on the floor. And I'm like, that is not like Riley. That is not like Riley. So I don't say these things out loud. Sometimes at my house when my girls, I don't know if they're awake or asleep, and I say mentally, if you frighten them, I'm going to go Irish mother on your arse. We are not doing it. We are not doing it. I can't see you, but I will find you. It's kind of like Liam Neeson. I will not, if I find you and the rest. But, you know, and the dogs had found it. And I thought these dogs were a little bit silly sometimes, but no, they were on the ball with it.
Another thing with especially like Osmos with myself anyways, and I don't know if it affects others this way, but I've seen so many my indicators. um it's like with animals, animals can see in infrared. Basically, they see an entirely different spectrum of light. And so um not only do I see spirits and entities, in whatever form they're projecting, whether it be like as a human or shadow person, whatever, but I also see light entities, like with my naked eye. Um, but I can also see an infrared. So
Mm.
I
Wow, you can see
wonder
an infrared.
with yes, I wonder if other I'm very high functioning, obviously, but I wonder if this is also affects other special needs, especially children. Because I can't imagine, like I've been this way my whole life, but if I wasn't, that would be. It's almost like an animal sees the world, I would assume, in all these different colors and things that other people
Mm.
can't see. But it would be absolutely um, almost tormenting for certain environments in modern times for a child like that. So I
Yeah.
always wonder if people who live in city, it's very hard for me to live in a city, first of all. all the lights, all
No.
the plus I'm not grounded as much, obviously.
Yeah.
But so I do make a point and an effort. I have to do that to get out in nature and in the sun and things like that.
Ground
But if
yourself.
it's a
Yeah.
special needs child who their parent isn't
Yeah.
aware that how these things affect them, you know,
Yeah.
the world would be overwhelming. Like I would probably shut down. I wouldn't know. Um, and I'm
What's
wondering if
the
a lot of things with modern technology have affected. You see so much more increased seizures and things like that.
completely?
Um,
Yeah.
dogs as well. A lot of people don't realize when dogs out of the blue kind of start biting their owner, many times they're having a very short seizure or mini stroke. And
Mm.
dogs' automatic reaction, they don't know what to do with their mouth. So it's not
Mm.
like, so then a lot of these owners give up their dog, but it might be their environment.
God.
It's causing them to have a seizure.
I get that completely. I get it 100%. Like I totally, I like, we have so much in common that everything you're saying, I totally relate to. Literally, it's kind of like someone is hearing me. And like I said, when I said I touched walls, tonight, I haven't said that in, gosh, in about 4 years. Because I think people think, oh, Jennifer, you're touching something. And it is nice to know that you get it. You get what I'm saying. You get what I'm talking about. And I thought I was weird by doing it. And I said, say this curtain. And when I go, like, sorry, I'm changing the subject for a second, but when I go to a castle and I feel the curtains and they're original, I'm feeling as if I'm fixing them when I lived there, or I'm feeling the material of it. And I know it sounds a little bit bonkers, and I know that's Jenny
No.
and conversations, like I would go YouTube with it, but I know, I don't know what it is and why I do it. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's perfectly normal. I think that you're just not aware of many of your gifts, and that's what everything around you is trying to tell you.
I was told
And
that
that's a good
before.
thing and a bad thing. So with that, you're more prone to um, being attacked by lower level entities because of this, because they find it's almost like a game to them. They're drawn to you because of that, because anyone that they know can sense them, even if you're not aware of it. I mean, it was even worse when I wasn't aware of it, because like really bad things happened to me and my environment. I mean, there were times I could have gotten hurt because I wasn't aware
Well,
that these things. And then in hindsight, looking back, I'm like, oh man, I just brushed that off as I tripped or my stove caught on fire or whatever happened. And all that time, it was these things that I was, they were actually attacking me because I didn't know how to protect myself.
well, that's it. When I was in a Shane's Castle up in the north of Ireland, and it was all underneath the ground, the graves were above us. And this tunnels, I have done this for 6 years, every month consecutively for 6 years. So I know this. I could walk up and down these tunnels blindfolded, and I'll know each place. I'm feeling the breeze. My window is not open. And I'm like, Jennifer's overthinking. And I remember we had done a reenactment that night. We had guests with us on the team. It wasn't my team at the time. It was a team I was on. And so we had done a reenactment. And the founder was sitting on the chair and done his, he did a few things that I'm not going to say. But anyway, we did the reenactment. And he said, Jenny, you're going to call out. You're going to provoke. And I'm like, well, I'm not too comfortable provoking because it's not my place or business to provoke. But I was kind of newish in the field. So I said, fine. Well, let me tell you, when I took roll. And, I kind of, took my place and, so I'm giving orders to these soldier men and whatnot. And I felt kind of like I was dominant. As a female, I was dominant. So later on that night, I was so dominant asking the questions out. I was being like, you are here and I am here.
So I think they're channeling through you.
Well, later that night, at the end of the night, we went back to that location, and the founder said to me, Jenny, bring the team down to where we had reenactment earlier. And I said, fine. We walked in. Never to this day, and I'm glad I didn't, but that night when we walked back into those tunnels, the sulfur smell burned your throat. I had an irritant at the top of my throat. you could, your nostrils was singed inside with the sulfur, and there was a mist. Now I know we were beside a loch, but you know, I just, we were so underneath the ground. But the sulfur was the one that got me.
That's you know, a lot of people assume that that's always demonic. What I've learned, that smell specifically, and I became terrified of mist and fog there for a while for multiple reasons. One, it's almost been proven that there was an experiment. I'll have to look this up because it's been a long time since I've researched this, but there was an entire town that was basically haunted by this fog that came in, and this wasn't just, I mean, it might have been the basis for this movie, but
It's
it's
a movie,
because
I've seen it.
obviously
Yeah.
the water, quite literally, as we talked about before, the ions in the water and such attract, you know, it's magnetized basically for different entities, different elementals, a lot of
Mhm.
things to manifest actually. um but the sulfur, what got me, I've been, you know, I'm a UFO, like an abductee experiencer as well. And many of those times, especially through hypnosis and that these things happen, there was that smell present and that fog and that mist. And
Yeah.
so now I'm like, and you know, many times people's experiences with demons, I always say that. I'm like, well, was it actually a demon? Or was it an interdimensional or extraterrestrial type? Especially if you're underground, you know, you get into like reptilians and all kinds of things. And that smell is specifically like that. I have almost PTSD when I'm around that smell, not because of demons, because I'm not afraid of those, but because of my experiences with extraterrestrials. So
That's
in those
just,
instances.
so we were meant to meet, Trish. We were meant to meet because there's so much I want to talk to you about. The when we had walked into those tunnels and the smell of the sulfur, my friend said to me, Jenny, we cannot go any further because of the smell, sulfur. And I'm like, that's okay. They know we're here.
Yeah.
We know they're here. We're going to keep going on. You know, I'm running the night. We're going to do this. So about 2, 3 times we were going in, and then I said, you know what? Okay, fine. We will not continue on. We will leave. And when we were leaving, and I said, I don't know why we have to leave if they know we're here and we know they're here. And within that was kind of like the matrix. It was like something ran
Yes.
to me or towards me, and my eyes closed, my hearing went, and I kind of like the
Yep.
matrix when you go back slowly and you go back up, and I'm like, about say 8 seconds, 10 seconds later, I was like, and I linked onto my friend, and I'm like, get me out, get me out. I need to get out. I need to get out of here. And then I said to
So
I
in
asked,
that time, you were, you know, this is what happens to abductees because, and it only feels like a few seconds to us well, sometimes it can literally be a few hours, be whatever. But most times, if they do take over a person's body, which is very possible,
yeah,
or
it
if
was
they physically
madness.
take them, then there's like a glitch in the time, and it might only be a few seconds. And I started realizing this because, um, I guess, you know, I often see things before they happen, but I didn't know that a long time ago. I thought
Mm,
I would get very alarmed and think that whatever that event was going to happen right then, but usually it'd be sometime in the future. And so when that future event happened, I was triggered to take a picture with a
yeah.
screenshot of something. I would just like I found random pictures on my phone that I didn't remember taking, or my camera or whatever, of like my clock radio or something, you know, just,
That's
but
just
I was subconsciously noting the time.
did
And
okay.
then I would note like, um and a lot of times it would tell me before, like if it was my radio in the car, there would be a song on that said like monsters something, you know, and I would note the time and not remember taking that picture, and
Oh
then
my
end up somewhere completely different, at a different time, and have no idea what happened in the, and that's how I'm like, okay, now I have proof to myself. I don't, you know, this wasn't even trying to prove to anyone else.
yeah.
But I'm like, now I know something happened mentally, physically, whatever. I was not in my own body, or something else took it over during this 5 seconds of time, however long it was, you know.
Hello. And I thought
And that's
something.
dangerous.
Well, I thought something was just kind of running through me. You know, when it says somebody from the other world gets too close to you and so on.
Mm-mm.
And then I remember saying to myself, I need to get out. And I told my friends, I need to get out. But I remember taking my own mind over and saying, if you panic, you lose it.
Yes.
So I contained myself. And I remember as well when I was in another show, UFO and coffee. And I'm like, it was in the daytime here for me. And I was like, UFO and coffee. I'm like, well, this is the first for me. I don't know a lot about UFOs and so on. When we did that show, Pandora's box.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Again, Pandora's box opened up. And I remember when I, younger and I was in the bunk beds and I looked at my window and I was looking at the sky and I'm like, no, if I look out the sky, they know I'm watching and then I'll know that they're watching and they know that I'm watching it. But I'm like, but I never told this to anyone. So who the frick is watching me and who am I watching? But I knew.
There's always watchers.
Is it crazy that I say that they're reading my mind? That they know, okay, Jenny's looking here and Jenny's looking out her window. And I'm like, oh my God, they're going to see me from my bedroom window.
Yep. That was my initial.
I was a child.
When I had never, even being from New Mexico, it was never an interest of mine. I never researched it. I never looked into UFOs or anything of the sort until, again, just like you, one day I was like looking up at the sky as an adult, but I remember doing it as a kid too. And well, for one, I thought that I don't belong here, that I'm not from here or something. But then my second thought was, then other times I would be scared that they could see me or whatever. And this goes back through many cultures, the eye in the sky and things like that.
Yes.
But that's initially where all these memories started coming back. And it usually hits people around, in their maybe 30s, 40s, 50s, where they start remembering their abductions and their experiences. And then they'll see that many of those experiences weren't paranormal at all, that they were actually interdimensional or extraterrestrial, and they weren't demonic,
I'm hearing stuff in my kitchen again. And there's nobody in my kitchen. It's like it's being rustled, like Toby the cat is at it, but Toby's here in bed. And it does it all the time. And I used to shut up to my children saying, check the kitchen. The bag is rustling, like it's not stopped, but it was rustling, like before we came alive.
Do you live near a hotel?
Yes, I do. Yeah, I do.
I don't know what that has to do with anything, but that they've like updated or modernized or something.
Yes, they have.
There's something to do with that, first of all. But also about a book, like a specific book that you own. That's green, that maybe the book cover is green. Maybe you own a book about plants.
I have a few books, and there's one book that has writing on it, and I think it's green. I can't say for sure. I think it's green. I'm not 100%. I have other books on. Because most of my books I put into the attic, and then some of my books I put into my press here beside me.
That's it. So it's the attic. There's something in the attic.
Did you say there's something in the attic?
Yes.
Great. Now I may get into it. I'll go live when I get into my attic.
Do you have decorations up there?
Well, yeah.
But they say you need protection from that, from whatever's in the attic.
Well, that's just lovely. That's just lovely to hear that. And the next time, and I literally got myself attic stairs, so I didn't have to ask my ex-husband, can you come in and go in the attic for me? Now, and it's okay, I got attic stairs. I can go into the attic myself. Now I'm going to say, can you come into the attic for me to bring my ex-husband? But you know what? I will do a live when I go into my attic. Don't mind the mess of it.
Yes.
Really? Is there something in my attic now, Trish? Is there something in my attic?
It
Jeez.
says fact. They keep saying facts. So
Facts.
like
Facts.
facts that there's something in the attic. Yes.
Well, it can stay in the attic.
I think, I don't know, something about maybe, but you said your house isn't that old, right?
15 years old. About 15 years old, but it's coming from a very old land in Drogheda beside the Boyne River. I mean, there was fighting on this land. And I remember sitting on my couch watching TV. You know, when you get this peripheral vision, you know, where you can see someone at the side, left or right. Mm-hmm. And many years ago, my neighbor came down to me. I didn't even know that she knew I was into the paranormal. And she said to me, Jenny, all my presses in the kitchen is opening. But why did she come to me? I have no idea. I wasn't even out there when I came to the paranormal. I didn't even have Emerald Isle at the time. So why she came to me, I have no idea. And I just said, keep an eye on it. You know, if you want me to go up, I'll go up. But there's always something with the kitchen. Now, I thought there was somebody. Remember, before we went live tonight, I said to you, I need to go check this not a cat in my kitchen, in my rubbish bag. And then the bag is rattling again. And my daughter said to me last week, Mom, did you call me? And I'm like, no, I didn't call you. So now Mama's going to have to take out, you know, their Irish gloves and say, you know, I mean, we're not doing this again. You know, you can stay, but be calm, but let's not get too feisty with, don't call my children. That's why we're going to put a stop to it. Do not call my children.
I think it's, maybe it's a cookbook that they're telling you to
start cooking and not order anymore online. A cookbook.
This is something that's like an antique or something that something wants you to look at. So I don't know.
So now you do know I'm going to go into the attic. Not now, but I'll go into the attic tomorrow and have a look for these books. But I'm going to have my children with me.
Yeah, I don't know.
I might call you on video, Trish, and I'll call you on video when I go into the attic and just say, okay, right.
I tell people that all the time because I can communicate remotely with spirits and such as well too. So
I'm telling you to direct me and tell me where to go. And you say, Jennifer, you're getting hot, you're getting cold. You know, don't go to this corner because it's
the other, or maybe it's something about like dragonflies or frogs or like nature in some way. Very odd.
I have nature books. I have nature books. I have a lot of nature books, you know, like insects. I have them. I have an insect book because I like my children to learn about insects and not to be, you know, afraid of them or anything like that. I do have a lot of animal books. I was going to say, what was that?
That was my dog. But that was right when you said animal books. That was funny. So that must be confirmation on that.
Okay,
yeah, we're gonna have to dig into this more. I can't believe it's already 10:20, so we have gone past.
Is it? Oh Lord, it's like 4:20.
I know. I was gonna say it's got to be. Well, Jen, it has been an absolute pleasure. Tell everyone where they can find you. And obviously, I'd love to have you on again sometime.
I'm going to mail you after this to say, get your behind onto my show. I have so much to talk to you about. With me, it's Emerald Isle Paranormal Researchers, which is here, and it's here in my mug. Emerald Isle Paranormal Researchers. You'll find me on Facebook. That is my team. We do go lives in it. And then my vodcast is Shadow Whispers in the Night. We're not on this Saturday night, but we will be on the Saturday night afterwards because we will be doing a live this Saturday night on location in the Drogheda Museum Millmount. Trish, I will definitely let you know when we're doing live on the Millmount. I'd love you to watch and to be there.
I would absolutely. Yes, I would love to. I was writing that. So I wrote both of those down in the comments as well. And then I'll update it on my YouTube and everything.
Oh, that's perfect. That's brilliant. It was so much fun.
And Brian says, let's all go into the attic. Yes.
Brian say that. Oh, listen, Brian, I will do a group chat tomorrow when I get into the attic. And like I said, I got stairs. I got stairs into my attic, so I didn't have to get a step ladder because I don't like heights. And now listen, I will do a video call with a group of us tomorrow when I get into the attic. That'll be fun. But I have to say, Trish, I loved you picked up on things that we had only just met tonight. And I'm a little bit floored by what you picked up on. And normally I have my tinfoil hat beside me, but I don't have it beside me, so people doesn't rate me. But that was on the nail spot
I
on.
don't. You do have a lot aside from, like I said, you're going to attract because you do have gifts that you're not using, and with that, you attract not only not always negative, you also have a lot of protection around you. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of good too. I don't want you to be afraid of anything. And I tell people this all the time. I'm like, people are like, how can you walk through these places that affect literally everyone and attack everyone and you're just unfazed? Like, are you the devil? And I'm like, well, I mean, I am a redhead, but
Amen.
aside from that, no, it's because you have to treat spirits like you do animals or anything else. If an animal senses fear, it's going to be defensive. It might bite you just out of
Yes.
defense.
Protection. Yeah.
A spirit is no different. Neither are demons. If they sense your fear, they will play off of that
Well,
100%.
I have to
And
say,
so it's
I
just an illusion. Fear's an illusion.
Well, that's it. And I'm gonna take what you said on board, because when I go that's a real Irish accent. When I go, real Irish accent. When I go on investigations, I could be in a dark room on my own, which I tend to less not do that. But my fear, I think they know my fear. I'm not
Yep.
Jenny, I'm not Jenny, great. I genuinely have the fear, and people laugh and joke at me about that. But I also tell them it is human reaction. It is human
Absolutely.
nature to have a fear. So I'm not. I'm not. Yes, I'm afraid a little bit because it's a human fight or flight reaction. That is normal, and I don't. I think people who are mocked in the field about that, just let's not do that, because I know someone had mocked me about being fearful before, and I'm just thinking, well, whatever, Billy Big Balls, I hope you are doing great. But
And I tell people that as well. Like I have been terrified at different places, but what I'm saying is then you go back there and then you're not as afraid the next time and you conquer that fear.
yes,
Just as with
yeah,
anything in life. I was afraid of the dark up until I was like 38 years old, and I'm not afraid to admit that. 100% terrified of it.
yes,
And it was finally after I had had so much, and people, when I say that I am able to communicate with certain spirits, and I've had to pay for, like, I had to work to get to that point. I
mm-hmm.
have been possessed and attacked and seen more monsters in my life than people could probably. So it didn't come
Yeah,
without a price, but I had conquered those, is what I'm saying. Like, you
and it's
can't.
huge, yeah,
I used to be terrified of dogs because one bit me when I was little. I used to be terrified of cats because one bit me. I've been,
mm.
you have to conquer
Yeah,
that.
you have
It's
your
not.
pets, and I think and I'm not going to lie, I'm still not nervous. I'm still kind of, adrenaline rush. Let's do this. My passion, but I'm
Mhm.
not going to be stupid when I feel like there's no one with me. I'm in a very dark room and I know there's someone
Yes,
here that doesn't like me. That's the point where I'm saying I'm not going to be stupid, Jennifer. I'm
absolutely.
not going to be stupid, Jenny. I'm going to say I'm going to need some assistance in here. I need someone with me. That's what I'm talking about.
Protect yourself.
That's completely. And I know these locations like the back of my hand, that I'm doing them for years. And that's why I would seek someone with me. And it's not that I'm afraid.
And
I'm
when
totally
you
afraid.
start, what I started doing, which I've always done, and people are like, "No, that's my rival investigative team or whatever." I'm solo. I'm a medium, so. But I'm like, we have to work together, because even somebody from
Mm,
halfway across the world, you can get a different perspective on that specific site, or a different
yeah,
perspective on somewhere that maybe you didn't consider, maybe that they lived there before and they have some insight. So
yeah, yeah. It can happen, and it has
it's
happened.
not a competition. There's literally millions, trillions of spirits in the world to investigate, so we're not going to run out anytime soon. I mean, Absolutely absurd that people compete in this field. So
it is just, oh my gosh, let's, I know.
that's
I
a whole
know.
other story.
I tell you, girl, I was going to say, let's get off the air and talk about it.
Thank you all for listening. They're going to kick us off. It is 10:23. You can find, again, the replay of this on all of your major podcast stations and obviously Roku. So next week, we have Flint Hills Paranormal joining us. I'm excited about that because most people in Kansas don't actually know I exist. So it's kind of weird to have someone from my own state. But I know, weird that like millions of other people across the world know I exist, but not in my own backyard. So look forward to that. Again, thank you all. And have a safe week and be safe investigating. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
I don't ever know how to end. Oh, there we go.